CEO of Coastal Capital.
One of my favorite female business leaders,
Kortney
Murray, is a self-made female force to be reckoned with.
I'm not here to talk about my business today. I'm here to talk about all of you. I'm here to talk about the pillars that led me to a successful business after 2 failed entrepreneurships. And I'm here to teach you the different tools and to help you with the pillars that it takes to create a successful business.
Yeah, welcome to this week's Wild Wednesday. It's Rhonda Swan, and as you can see, I have a very exciting guest today. She's actually not only a dear friend of mine, but a business partner. She's one of the authors in Women Gone Wild book series for our wealth book, and she wrote an amazing chapter on building business credit. You know, this show that I've been hosting now for the last 2.5 months, we've been bringing on unbelievable, not only women are authors of our book, but those that are really looking to make a difference in this world. And they do that through their gifts, through their knowledge, their experiences. And so I like to bring on our guests that can not only contribute to, let's say, your mental well-being, your physical well-being, your spiritual well-being, but more importantly, your business well-being. And now that, you know, we're nearing to the end of the year and people have had, I think the year's been a little bit wild and crazy. I tell you, it's funny when we look at our year. In fact, I want to ask everyone here in the comments. Good to see you guys, by the way. Make sure that you let us know that you're here and where you're coming in from, because this is showing up and streaming all over every platform from LinkedIn to YouTube to Facebook. And it's also being streamed inside of our private StreamYard. So let us know that you guys are here. It's good to have you all here. But I tell you, this year has been a little bit wild and crazy, right? And I was having some conversations with some of my clients, and they're like, you know, it's interesting when we look at the landscape, right, of what's happened in this year. People are like, oh, it was heavy. It was crazy. It was this. And I said, okay, well, that's the first thing you talk about, but let's talk about actually what happened, right? And let's lay it on the table. So you can have all your shitstorm stuff on this line or this pile, then you can have all the great things that happen on this side. And interestingly enough, every person that I spoke to that did that little experience or that exercise went, gosh, I forgot about the epic things that has actually happened in my year. I was like, so think about how much your life or your day or your year can change, or the perspective that your year can change if you actually looked in the gain. And we've talked about this, the book, several times. We can either live in the gap and think about all the things, oh, what am I going to do next? What hasn't worked? Or we can live in the gain. And when we live in the gain, we're grateful, right? We tell the universe, we say, this is what's awesome that's happened in my life. This is the frequency that we lift. And what happens? More comes our way. Law of attraction, right? So that's really what I want us to focus on for the closing the end of the year. I want to really encourage everyone to focus on what amazing has happened for your year so that you can get more of it. Also by the end of the year, but then start off 2024 like a complete rock star on top of the world and really jamming. In fact, I was going to play this song this morning, but I couldn't. I would have had to tell you guys to tell Google to turn it off. And it was that song. You ever hear that song? Woke up feeling grateful, grateful. I love the chorus. I jam it every morning. And because the more grateful we are, the better it is. All right. So I've chatted long enough for some of you guys to get here. Say hello. Good to see you. Awesome to see you, Sarah. And of course, Mr. Murray himself. So why don't we introduce my guest? You just saw one of her videos, and you know, she is as powerful and as electric as she looks like on that video, on those stages, because Kortney Murray is not only a failed entrepreneur multiple times, but she's also the CEO and founder of Coastal Capital, and that's Kapital with a K. And her company, along with her husband and their amazing team, has not only transformed people's businesses, but she's a woman that has worked in big, heavy machinery, financing big expansions of companies. And this last 2 years, she started to also now create space to help entrepreneurs to expand their business, to gain better business credit, to be educated on what it takes to be a business owner, especially women business owners, because a lot of times we're very undereducated. Our financial literacy, sadly enough, has not been strong enough for many women to feel confident enough to not only build a business, but to grow it. And that's what we stand for, not only in our Women Gone Wild book series, but also what I do and take a stand for women in business today. So without further ado, let's bring out Kortney Murray with a K, Kortney with a K, the CEO and founder of Coastal Kapital. How are you, babe?
I'm awesome. Thank you so much. As always, I always love when you bring out our book because I now have a display of the wild behind me. We have the magazine,
Yes.
book, everything that we've done in this powerful last couple years. But I do want to talk really quickly and kind of tap onto that, thinking about the good and bad that happened.
Yeah.
Just reminded me about last time I just did the stage event. We were talking about just all being in this epic room with these just great energy entrepreneurs. And one of the gentlemen there brought up the fact that no one had been talking about the economy. And the answer from the person he was speaking with was, well, the people in this room, they don't talk about things that they cannot change. They talk about things that they actually have capability to change. And I thought this is such an amazing thing to hear from somebody's mouth, because economic times are one thing. And in the finance industry, I'll tell you, people say interest rates change, this has changed. So everyone, if I lived under that roof of believing in the change, then I would actually be frightened, most likely, for things that could happen. But you can't change what happens in the future or what happened in the past. You can only change your right now. So always take on what you can actually handle that day. And that's forward thinking. It's the only control that you have. And so if you can do that and you can create that mindset, you're going to continue moving forward. So I love that you said that.
Yeah, it's such a big thing, right? Because I mean, seriously, there's shit that happens every year, every minute, every day. Like, come on, we can go, oh no, we're in a financial downturn. Like, they've been saying that for a long time, but we've always had business growth because it's the way that you look at the situation. And as an entrepreneur, this is one of my favorite things ever. This is why I love being an entrepreneur. I know, Court, you're a serial entrepreneur as well, is because we get to control it. We actually do. We get to control our environment. We get to control our message, control what we say and who we say it to. And, you know, it's crazy because even this year alone, I've actually had to remove a lot of people, a lot of conversations, a lot of spaces out of my existence, right? Out of my own personal universe, because they're just scared, right? And they're thinking about things, they're talking about things that they actually can't control. Now, I'm not saying, everyone, please don't take this wrong. I'm not saying, please don't, think about what's happening in the world and, care for things. That's one thing. But the other is how much you focus on it and how you look at it and allow it to affect you and your day to day. So, it's powerful, right, Kortney? And because, we, one of my favorite, statements is we become the 5 people that we hang around with.
Yep. And it's funny because we talk to entrepreneurs every single day. That's what my staff does, what I've done for 20 years now. And I get to hear everyone's vision from the beginning, from them starting and having an idea to starting the capital, where do I get capital to start this project, all the way to the people who have been in business and do $30 million a year, and they're looking to scale and they don't know which direction to go. And they're still looking for advocates and advice and things like that. And so you find entrepreneurs of all sorts to come in and ask for advice. But the thing that it takes, mostly being a failed entrepreneur twice, is it takes humbling. It takes you taking that pride out and coming to the realization that you're going to have to ask for help and being very, very transparent. And when you do that, one of my favorite things to always say this year is collaboration is your new currency. It is the new currency. And so this world that you've brought, open to all of us, Rhonda, has been amazing, because the women that you've brought in and the men as well. I mean, the people that we've collaborated with has just opened a whole new door to every entrepreneur that we've met through this whole segment series, book, and everything like that. So.
Yeah, well, let's talk about your journey, because you do have a really epic story. And that's part of what we're doing here right now is literally learning from, and this is what I want to preface everyone. Every time you hear a story, listen to the seeds that were dropped, and then listen to how someone took, whether it's a dying seed, picked it back up and either replanted it or planted a new seed, because this is where we learn. This is the threads that we leave. And Kortney's got a very powerful story. I remember the first time I really heard it. In fact, I've known Kortney. We went to college together. It's so crazy. We were the same sorority. We didn't talk. How many years had it been, Kortney? I mean,
a long time. It was like
25 years.
Don't date us. It was 10. Yeah, it was a while.
We're still holding on to our 30s, but it was a long time ago. And then we started to be reconnected again. And I had been watching Kortney, what she had been doing. And then we opened this book series, and she's like, yes, I want to tell my story. But when I first heard your story, when we were in Vegas, you stood on stage and shared really what happened to you. And I was like, more women need to tell these stories. More people need to listen and find those seeds and those threads that can help them grow. So let's do that. Let's start with your backstory and how you now, like, literally, has her own credit line. She's funding and financing companies, not just, let me give me 20,000. She's talking in the millions, hundreds of millions, right? And then also small entrepreneurs. Her company is helping people expand and grow, but she had a major failure in your first couple endeavors. So let's start there and let's build upon it, because before you guys leave, by the way, Kortney does have not only a business consultation you can apply immediately with her team to talk about your company and your business. And she's also giving away at the end. So stay to the very end. We'll be here around 45 minutes. She's going to be giving you a takeaway to help you learn how to build your business credit, how to get more exposure, and how to grow your business. All right, so Kort, I want to make sure everyone sticks around so they know what's going to come from the end.
There are gifts. Yeah, we put some things together, so it'll be fun. Yeah. So stick around. And plus the stories are fun. I mean, they weren't so fun at the time, but there is, I believe every entrepreneur has a path, and not everyone jumps in with both feet and succeeds. I think a lot of entrepreneurs see that. And I will say that through the time that I decided that I wanted to be an entrepreneur, I was very young. I actually, in 7th grade, signed up for shop class because I thought I was going to learn how to go shopping. I wanted to own a clothing store. Well, I didn't know shop class was woodworking. And my mom, I remember laughing in the parking lot. Crying, laughing in the parking lot. And I was like, what is so funny? So anyway, from a very young age, I've always loved clothing, fashion, yes, shopping, I wanted to be in either merchandising, clothing store, whatnot. So when I was in my very, right after college, I was like very early 20s. I found a clothing store, and it was by default that this girl was selling. I was shopping and doing a little bit of work. I was working for a mortgage company at the time, and the shop was outside, and it was called the Cuckoo Caterpillar. And I walked in, and the lady was very pregnant, pretty much 9 months pregnant, ready to pop. And it was hot. It was in San Diego. It was summer. And she said, "Oh, do you want to buy my store?" And I said, "Yes." Yes, I want to buy your store. I don't know how to run a cash register, but I know how to make people look beautiful. And so the first thing I did is I jumped in both feet, and I said, I'm buying the store. And I bought the merchandise that was in the store, and I didn't have much money, but I had some saved. And my parents helped me a little bit. We wanted to get a sign outside and do some things. Well, I only had a certain amount of cash, and I ended up buying everything from the sign outside to the cash register to all new racking. The front needed to be painted. The aesthetics needed to be done. So I ended up redoing the whole store. It cost probably about $23,000 when I started. It was, again, I was in my 20s. It was a small old surf shop. And so my father always told me, he was a corporate attorney, and he always told me cash is king. If you don't have money, you don't buy it. And at that time, I was so young. I only had one credit card, I think, for $300 limit. And so I didn't have any credit established. And so I figured, well, I don't know where to go shopping. I'm going to start going to TJ Maxx and marking things up because I'm an entrepreneur. I'm going to make this work until I can figure it out. So little do you see me putting this store together, and I start gaining some success. I start selling some of her merchandise. I start understanding how to merchandise the store. I finally find a place, a fashion district up in LA. I start driving back and forth and shopping, and the store is becoming fruitful. I go to bars, restaurants. I start bringing clothing racks to them, and I do fashion shows. I even designed some of my own clothing and sewed some of my own clothing. And I'm sorry if anyone is on here that actually bought that. I don't know if it was washable. But, as an entrepreneur, you try everything you can. So,
Mhm.
2 years in, my store was very successful. It was called Chaos. So I always call my, story the chaos to capital. But the chaos, started becoming chaos. So it was a beautiful, transition forward. I started selling a lot of clothing, able to finally gain some sort of credit with merchandisers out of Canada. And I had terms. So they would send me product and then I would have to pay them back 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. So I started building this little bit of business credit that it was established with my vendor. And I did not set a penny away for a rainy day. So I lived hand to mouth. And one of the things that I always believed in myself. I never ever let go of the fact that I'm going to be successful, but I never ever put the money away to be ready for that California wildfires. And when those California wildfires started happening, not only did it shut my store down for multiple days because the smoke inhalation was just horrible. Nobody would come out because the door had a whole foot underneath it because it was an old surf shack. But the smoke ended up ruining the clothing in the store. And you don't plan for being out of work for 1 to 2 weeks and then plan on having to replace the clothing in the store, and then
Yes.
everything else that was trash. We had everything I had clothing hanging from hammocks. It was like an old surf shack hippie store, it was beautiful right on the water. And I did not plan for any of those rainy days. So now my business credit, which I had little bit established, just vendor credit, that's now ruined. I can't pay them back. I can't pay them back on terms. And then my personal credit, I didn't have enough established. I can't pay that back on terms. I don't have any more money to buy re-merchandise the clothes, and you can't take the tags off and go and wash all of the clothes from the smoke.
No.
I don't have insurance on that. So yes, this is a story that was true to my heart. I absolutely loved what I did. I loved the store, and I had to close. And when I closed, I not only closed, I literally put myself down into the worst probably possible depression because I now have ruined my personal credit. I
Mhm.
owed the state of California sales tax, which I couldn't pay. My account was levied. My credit went into the dump. So I had to go and start writing letters, not just to the IRS and to the state of California, but to try to get little tiny dings off of my credit. In 2003, I had to file a bankruptcy. I didn't even have credit, but I had such a poor amount of no credit that I had to file a bankruptcy. Did that suit who I was as a person? To myself, do I feel like a bankrupt person? No, I feel like somebody who accidentally failed because nobody gave me the tools to succeed. And so when I got out of that business, found I actually got into a company that she used to shop at my store, and I started doing equipment finance. And I started realizing that there was another route. And I became so passionate about it that my journey has taken me here. But I opened my second business, which was a finance company in 2007 in the economic times, and the mortgage crisis hit in 2008. And I had to shut my doors and go back to work because we couldn't put food on the table at that time because I was so new at the business on my own. And nobody would lend to the finance industry. You don't lend money to the finance industry. They think you're going to lend it, which of course I would. So there are things that you do as an entrepreneur, but I now have dedicated my life to education.
Mhm.
And my mission and vision is to put the next year we're raising $100 million. We want to put 30% of it into diverse women funds. We want to help women entrepreneurs and men entrepreneurs, also minority entrepreneurs. We want to help people, not a score. We want to help people because if someone had taken the time and understood my story, I wouldn't have had to write all those letters and do all the things to gain the credit worthiness again. It wouldn't have taken me 7 years. It would have
Mm,
taken me however long it took for somebody to believe in me. And when you believe in a person, COVID hit. Think of all the people that COVID ruined. Do you think
right.
that that should put a stamp on them and say that they're not approvable or not financeable? That's absolutely something that we have to change. And who better to change it than me? I want to get out there and do this for other people. And so the education is something I'm 150% passionate about. I teach all of my people in the company to educate their clients. We're not here to turn a deal and do a deal for money. We want to make sure that business stays in business. And if they're not educated, we're just another company doing the rotation that will be in and out of business because they don't care. And that's just
Yeah.
not my
No,
biggest.
and this is where, I really love what you guys do, and I want to help everyone really hear this. There's a lot of seeds that she dropped down, right? I mean, and when you talk, Kortney, about was that my worthiness is what happened to me, because I know this is happening a lot for people, especially during the last couple of years. They're like they're amazing entrepreneurs, but look at things do happen, right? Like Brian and I lost everything in '07 and '08 in the financial crisis, right? We had real estate everywhere, and we were like, oh my gosh, we're signing off our life. We're signing off our papers, and there was something that I had to get real with. And it was my bank account does not represent who I am,
Exactly.
right? It's not who I am. So you have made something very different. Let's talk what Coastal Capital has done that's different than really any other lender, because you guys really look at the story. You call it sweat equity. Let's talk about that, because I know that the work and the people that you've worked with. In fact, Kortney, when we were expanding on our book, I said Coastal Capital, like I could pull it out of my pocket. She's like, no way, don't do that. I was going to take in partner. She goes, don't you dare do that. Don't you give equity to your company. And I was like, and this was a very, very, very big, very well-known big guy. And everyone would know who he is. And I'm not going to say it, but he actually gave us a endorsement to our book, which was really epic. Kortney said, don't do it. Don't take money from someone that doesn't necessarily care. They want equity. You've built this. And you talked a lot about sweat equity. So let's talk about this, because I think this is where a lot of people get nervous. They get scared and they don't realize, like, look, you might be doing well, but man, what could happen if you had a little support, right?
So it's important that people know, because a lot of people, the first thing they want to do is borrow money. And I mean, what you learn when you're a child is don't borrow money from family or friends. You just don't want to go that route. Well, that's where it all starts. Borrowing money is one thing, but when somebody wants to take equity in a product that you work so hard for, I always
Yeah.
do the example of the Shark Tanks out there. Then you watch Shark Tank, they take equity, and it's great that they can raise. You're partnering with somebody that can raise you here. But then what if you were educated enough to finance or borrow that money yourself? How much less would it have cost you? So you're going to say the interest rate's a little bit high for me. What does the rate cost you when somebody else takes a piece of your pie?
Yeah.
So that was so important to me, because I watched you as my friend and I said, listen, one of the things that I believe in is that you've done so many unbelievable things for other people, that why wouldn't someone, and you not being in America right now, you being in Bali, it's very hard to try to find a line to borrow money. So if some other traditional bank looked at this whole package, you might have great credit, great money coming in, but they're going to say, you're in a different country. We don't know how this feels. Well, of course we want to take that risk, because I know what you're about to do with the money. I know what you're about to do for other people. I know what's coming back to you, and giving away equity. Somebody else would have been helping you make those decisions. I know you work 150% of the time. And so I know that about you in particular. So when it comes to Coastal Capital, we have a process that we get to really know our client. And I want them to know their children's name. I want to know their birthday. I want to know what happened to them. I want to know their pain points. I want to know exactly what their anticipation is to build this company. if they say, I'm just buying the company to hopefully have mailbox money and I'm going to be an absentee owner, but I have an 800 plus credit score, I'm probably going to say no. And it's
Mhm.
not because you're not bankable. You are bankable, Mr. Person or Miss Person, but you probably aren't going to participate in the business. And so we really believe in the human quality of understanding what happened. So I guess the best example is a girl. I was actually talking with her tonight, and her story is unbelievable. She actually has 4 gyms, and she's does about 7.5 million a year. And COVID took her for kind of a spin. And she built these gyms from having a past experience of failed business where she filed a bankruptcy. And she also had been in mortgage, and she had 2 properties that she sold to a gentleman. One, the gentleman said he wasn't going to live in, so did another one, moved into another one, and she ended up getting sued because he was indicted for something and she didn't do anything wrong. And so, in order for her to move forward, she has to have somebody to believe in her. Well, if somebody didn't believe in her at that time, she wouldn't be running gyms for 7.5 million, educating women and men about fitness and their health. And I just started looking at her story, and I'm like, I wanted to give her a hug through the phone. And I'm like, there's nobody better that I would want to lend my money to today than it would be you. And every bank is going to say no because on paper you don't look good in this portfolio. But for us, I know what you're capable of. I know what you're worth. And so, yes, there's a little bit of risk to it, but outside of that, there's no human aspect of lending anymore, and we have to bring it back. And so, we, in the last 2 years, have taken our own line. My husband and I took our retirement out when all of our businesses were shutting here at COVID around us, and we started putting money into people we believed in, who weren't necessarily bankable, but we understood their story. And as we started seeing the portfolio grow, I said, we have to do something. And so now we are at the point where we're doing $100 million raise where we will be able to use that as debt. It's private equity, so it will not be used for, it will not be underwritten like a bank. It will be underwritten from our scoring model, and it will allow us to put more money in the pockets of humans, of people that we believe in, of their projects that we believe in. Yeah, there are things I can get into for credit for days of risks of startups and blah, blah, blah. But when it comes down to the person and what they have in place and what they're moving forward to do, the people that they're working with, the people they're surrounding themselves with, there's no better person to invest in than a person, not a score.
Yeah, I really love that because I know everyone's, listening, and it's like this is I believe the new way of doing business, right? We're going back to human. Like we all started as entrepreneurs, back in the day. I mean, it was trade, it was support, it was how, and now we've become so corporatized, right?
Yep.
I mean, I'm not going to even go on my own soapbox about what's going on in the world, but it's becoming corporatized and we have become numbers. And if we are not producers for someone, they don't even want to look at you. But entrepreneurs, especially, has built America. Entrepreneurs are those that give back. We give back more to other foundations, charities, and support others than any other industry or any other sector in this world. And it's because the entrepreneurs have a true spirit, because most all of us get into business because we care. And we're moving into that new step. So, Court, let's talk about some specifics, because I know, why don't we make sure all of you too ask some questions that you have. You can ask on any platform. It should drop inside here for me, and I'll look in my other platforms. But where should people start? Let's say they're right now going, okay, we've done decent, right? We need a little bit of a buffer, or we're ready to really expand. What do they need to do when it comes to business credit? Where's the first steps they should take? And let's kind of get into that so we can leave some real juicy nuggets along the way.
So first, I want to say that business credit and personal credit are different. And so that is number one. When you do start a business, or even when you get into business, there's a lot of people that we work with who've been in business 5 years, and they didn't know that they didn't have to commingle their personal and business credit. So one of the best ways to start, and it's just very, very small way to start, but if you are going to build an LLC, a corporation, you get an EIN number. It's not your social security number. That is if you're a sole proprietorship or you're running as a contract worker, Schedule C employee, or a Schedule C contractor. But if you are going into business and you have an entity formed, that federal tax ID number has the same number of digits as your social. You can start by opening up just small trade lines, such as your utility bill, any of your phone bills, your electric bill if you have a brick and mortar. You can start there. You can also start, there's Dun& Bradstreet. You have to become a part of Dun & Bradstreet, but Dun & Bradstreet is actually international. So for anyone watching that is international outside of the US, Dunn's number is available in all countries. It's a way that they do reporting. It's very similar. So if you are out of state or excuse me, out of country, a Dunn's number is a great way to start. PayNet is another credit reporting agency. There's many I could get into. One of the things you want to do is start building that score, though. So to do it, you just build small trade lines. To apply for credit, you can open everything from a small credit card. You can open up a small line of credit if if you're somebody who's moving product or manufacturing. There's a lot of contingencies for that. But the easiest way ever to establish business credit is to take out an equipment finance. And you can do it as a startup. So banks don't lend to startups, not unless they take a personal guarantee. Banks don't lend to startups unless they take collateral, if you have a home or something like that. And so if you take out an equipment finance with an alternative lender, such as ourselves or some other advocate out there, you as a startup can take up to a certain amount, sometimes about 50,000 to 150,000. That starts building a trade line called an installment loan. Just like a car loan or a boat or a motorcycle, it's an installment. It's not a revolving credit card. It's something that's fixed per the term. So every month you pay that same amount. When we look at installment debt, let's say you're applying for a loan for the first time under your business and you've never built business credit, we have to look at your personal credit to see how much installment you've ever purchased. So if I had a car for $30,000 and I wanted to buy a business piece of equipment for $100,000, they would say no, because I would only have comparable debt of $30,000. So they're going to look at the personal credit, but they don't report to personal credit. So it's really important that people understand what installment debt is. Installment is a fixed payment through the term. And then also on business credit, you can open up 30, 60, 90 with any vendors. Let's say you're buying, buying anything on terms, whether it's a product coming to you, like me in my clothing store, I had to buy clothing and have to pay them back every 30 days. So you can establish those type of terms. And then you can also have a revolving line, just like you can on your personal credit, which would be a credit card or a business loan. And they score you the same way. And so you start small, but the easiest way is starting with the electrical bill and those bills. But then even if you're buying equipment and you have cash for equipment, why would you pay cash for something that isn't generating ROI yet? It's different than personal finance. So personal finance, you say, oh, my interest rate's so low. Well, your interest rate might be low, but you're not renting your car out, or you're not leasing your car out to someone else. Maybe you are for Uber, or you're making money with it. But when it's generating ROI, it becomes an asset that's bringing revenue to the company. So if you look at the revenue that's bearing on the company and you look at the asset that's generating revenue, there's a lot of things when you're working with an advocate, you can figure out you need that tax write-off. So there's a lot of tricks to the trade when you're getting into business finance, but those are the simple ways to start working and building business credit.
Well, and it's a big thing. So leave some questions here that you might have, because I tell you right now, like for instance, when we were in expansion, we were doing the book series and we were kind of in the gap between the next book and the current thing. And it was like, Kortney's like, don't use the money that's in your pocket, because that's what you're using to grow and to create every day. Let's now give a business credit loan, or we did a line of credit, and we were then able to then now reinvest in the next book and the things before people had came in, but we knew we were in a series, right? So then this is just in our book side, right? So when it comes to like different things that you've got going on, never leave out that you aren't either worthy of it or it's something that you should look into. And that was something that Kortney, you did, because we were like, look, when we lost everything in 07, 08, we're like, we've been running on cash, literally cash, pay everything cash, built our house in cash here in Bali. Everything's been run on cash, because what happens if you do go through a hard times like you did, your credit might be poorly done. And now you're trying to build it back up again. But then once you prove and show the work that you can do, this is really where I just love what your company's about, because you're like giving incredible people that have so much drive and passion for what they do. You're giving them another chance to really even make a bigger difference. And I think that's something that's the most important piece for people to really think about is like, what are you doing right now? And what is your bigger vision? Like, are there certain questions that you ask for people when you're like, okay, yeah, this person's going to really be someone that we want to go all in on?
Well, we always ask I mean, we have a client right now, and I'll say, slutty vegan, Pinky,
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Yes.
She started with a dorm room idea for $1,200, and now she's valued over $100 million, her company. But when she was going to look for cash, she's credit worthy or whatnot, but she was expanding so quickly, people got nervous.
Yeah, right.
Expanding so quickly. But guess what? The people who are looking at the deal, they're looking at a computer and they're looking at a number that was in the credit algorithm was built in 1958. And we're in 2023. Why has that not moved? Right. So they're not looking at the social media and the PR and the marketing and the opportunity cost. So one of the things I always said to you as well when we were talking about, borrowing the money, I said, why wouldn't you use other people's money to grow your business? Because why would you ever take money and pay an employee before they started generating income for you? Would you say, okay, I'm going to hire you. I'm going to pay you all your money this year right now, even though I have no idea how you work? Why would you do that with an asset that's going to bring in money, that's going to bring in revenue? So assets create wealth. When you buy assets, it creates wealth. It's just like the game of Monopoly. Well, if you don't have that money to jump in on an opportunity because you're using your cash flow. So if an opportunity comes and knocks at your door and it says, to get this opportunity is going to be $50,000. Well, I just bought a dump truck for $50,000. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? Because you could have taken the 50 for this opportunity, paid cash, just paid a cash outlay for that truck. And so those are the things that, when we're talking to our clients, we want to know if they have contracts, if they are generating ROI. Why do you need a $200,000 piece of equipment when you can buy something for 50 that generates you the same amount of money? Let's see if you're you're just getting overzealous and you're scaling too quickly, or if you can afford how you're scaling. So we ask our clients the questions to make sure that they can afford what they're buying. We're not trying to turn over on a deal. We want to make sure that we understand the project, because our clients are our lifeline. So why wouldn't we want them to come back to us for the next 20 years? So look around your own towns, everybody on here, look around your town and say, which company says we've been here 50 years? How many signs do you see of people who have been there 20, 30, 40 years? If you do, go in and ask them what they've been doing, because they're the ones doing it right. And I guarantee they did not use all their cash.
Yeah, that's huge, Kortney. I mean, it's, and this is the time. This is the time to really be not only clever, but to really look at what it is that, what is it you can do and make a difference on? And then how do you do it wisely? Right? I mean, wise business decisions. I've made a lot of really stupid business decisions, right? Like a lot.
So have I.
Trusted a lot of people, and done some things that just weren't right. And I tell you, especially women in business, like we are the biggest go-getters, but we are the most underfunded, and that's something that needs to change. I know that's something you've been very adamant about as well, where you're advocating for women businesses, because man, we work our asses off, we go for it, but we get less than, I think it's 1% of the funding of the trillions of dollars.
3% of women get the funding that's available through the government and through the agencies. And I truly, just because I've been doing this for so long, 20 years now, I've been underwriting and watching and listening to all of the stories that come through here. But I really do believe that when a woman comes in and somebody says no, or you're not worthy, we take that, a lot of us, to heart,
Mm.
and you don't pick yourself back up right away because you don't have that mentorship or a partnership that is telling you to go forward. And so a lot of women don't know that there's options. So they'll say, somebody will say to them, maybe you could borrow money from this person, or maybe this person could go into business with you. This is the kind of thing we hear, right? This person will help
Yep.
you, but they don't know that they can do it themselves. And
Yep.
so, I mean, we have scored, I mean, we've scored way down into the 500 credit scores for people, when it makes sense. It has to make
Mhm.
sense, either the cash flow or the financials. But
Yep.
you know, there should always be a way to at least apply, see if you qualify, and if you don't, let's run through how to get there. And
Yeah.
then you have some sort of vision on the next step. Or if you're a huge business and you're looking to scale or acquire another business, let's talk about what your real needs are, where your cash flow is, how many more employees it will take, or, you know, there's just a lot that goes into it as a business owner. And the most successful business, I always say the most successful food truck, I always say food truck, is the one that started in a tent, and they used their money to market themselves. They use their
Mm.
money to do the PR. They use their money to brand. You don't need the best hot dog in the world. You need a hungry crowd. So the worst hot dog ever is going to sell outside of that football stadium. But if you have the best hot dog ever and you're in the wrong crowd, you're not going to have buyers. And so you have to find your avatar and find who you're going to be working with. And that's what we want to know about our clients.
Well, and you're speaking my language, right? Being, you know, running our branding and PR firm that's the same thing we tell our clients. It's like, look, you know, what are you so amazing at? Now, how do we amplify it so that more people can see it? Because there's a billion people doing similar things that you do. Where's that one area that you can be so unique in? But how do you then get in front of the right people, let the right people see what you're doing? And then, right, this is how we build, we grow, and how our brands really become and represent, you know, what our worth is and what we do, right? Like my chapter in this book, in the wealth book, because everything inside of this book was women's short stories on how they are redefining wealth. My chapter was brand currency. My brand currency, my Rhonda Swan brand, my Unstoppable Branding Agency brand, Unstoppable Family brand, Women Gone Wild brand has gotten me into more doors and gotten me more opportunities that I could ever imagine, because I worked my ass off and did a live video every day for about 8 years and talked about it. So, right. But that's the sweat equity. That's putting it in, right? And because of that, we've got opportunities. Like the other day, I was telling you, we got World Business Forum just asked me to be a partner out of nowhere. And right, for here launching in Singapore and doing things in New York. It's like, if I didn't have, right, not only the brand equity, but the exposure, you know, the PR, but also had opportunities that I didn't have before, I wouldn't have been able to scale all of these brands the way I've done. And a lot of it has to do with your help, your education, your knowledge. And this is something that everyone deserves to hear. I mean, your chapter, you've talked about, you know, your story, you talked about building business credit, the things that we're talking about today. But I want to emphasize more than ever now, everyone, this is the most vital, important piece that you can do now to close your year. Get educated, right? Be prepared so that your company is ready. Because I said this earlier, I do believe that there's a corporatization that's coming in and they're trying to kill off entrepreneurs, right? It's happening. If you haven't seen it in the streets where, you know, there's all kinds of things happening with all these brick and mortar businesses, with land, with all, they're trying to take away our entrepreneur spirit so that the corporates can come in and then we become sheep. This is not what we're doing. Not only I take such a big stand for women, for families, you know, for entrepreneurs to say, nope, not this spot. And like you said, those that are in for 50 years, 30 years, 20 years, we've been around for 18 years. They've done it right. They've hit the bumps, they've hit the pits, but they're always growing because the knowledge, just the financial literacy, Kortney, I think is one of the most vital, you know, pieces that you stand so strong with. So what I've done here down below, if you see on the ticker, Kortney and her company, her team is offering a consultation. But before they do this, Kortney, what are some requirements before they even decide that this could be a time to get a business consultation, look into a potential, you know, credit line expansion, right? Equipment financing. What are some of the requirements first?
Well, we actually work with startup businesses.
Mhm.
So you can be a startup all the way, up to whatever umpteen years in business. We do like to at least see a 620 personal credit score. It's
Mhm.
important that we do that just to keep our own credit guidelines there. If there is a story that goes along with it and it's a little bit, riskier for us, we'll still listen to the story because we can't
Mhm.
attack that way. But we do like to have that 620 and above. And if you have been in business, we like to show that you've been generating revenue for at least the
Cash
last
flow.
3 months. There's no, negative, negative marks on the bank statements and things like that.
Mhm.
Other than that, it's pretty easy. I mean, if you are pretty much a straight shooter, it's an application, 3 months bank statements, and it allows us to start the profile, and then we get into what you want to use the money for. I mean, I that's it's as easy as that. I
Well,
don't want to
yeah,
complicate
and
it.
it's perfect timing, right? Because I've been having discussions with our clients. It's the end of the year. There's a lot of times where you need to put your money somewhere, right? So our clients are saying, okay, what can I do to prepare for my investment into my marketing, into my business, into the PR that I need to not only close out my year, but invest into this year, right? For tax purposes, so that I'm really ready to be strong and start off my year in 2024, bold with, strong PR marketing. And you are also funding marketing, you're funding PR packages, you're funding companies' growth. And I think this is where the first, steps need to be. And this is the right time to do it.
Yeah, and it actually it's the perfect time because Section
Yeah.
179, if you don't know what it is, they allow 1.1 million tax deductions on your Section 179, and that's for your year end. So if you're a profiting business and you don't want to pay the government, then you need to buy assets this year or take higher interest or
Yeah.
take something with interest that you can write off, because if you don't have that write off, you're paying Uncle Sam. If you're not paying Uncle Sam, you can invest that in assets that bring you revenue and do marketing for assets that you purchase. So there's a lot of things that we can do to walk through what's affordable and what is possible. But end of year is our busiest time because all the accountants are saying, go get your tax write-off. So
Yeah.
this is a great
Right.
time.
Brilliant, brilliant. So perfect time to invest in your company. It is, you just literally go on your, if you're especially in the USA, you text 500 with a K, like capital K, Kortney Murray with a K. Send a text, and that will give you then the application. You also too have a special gift, a resource book. Share with us about this, so they can also text coastal to 21,000 on your text as well.
Yes, it's a resource book that I put together. It just is the basics of business credit. Everything from some of the terminology to how to start gaining business credit. Just a little book I put together. I would love for each of you to download it just to have it on file. It's something great to reference if you are in business. And the link is it's 21,000. You just type it into your text and you type in the word coastal. I see, Barbie, you asked for the link, and I can't move that quickly to post the link, but I will send you one. It's 21,000, and then you type in the word coastal.
21,000. Yeah, just you can text it there, 21,000 coastal. It's on here. Especially, this is one brilliant thing that I love about this Woman Gone Wild movement that we've created, right? This book series, the next book is coming out, is that we have an amazing group of women that are, together. And Kortney, of course, is one of our authors. And inside, Barbie's one of our authors. She's a big speaker. And we just like share resources. Like that's what we do. We not only tell our story, inspire more people, we take our platforms and we help people grow. We help them learn from it. And that's really why I decided to do this call. I was doing TV shows and all these things. I'm like, let's just do this mastermind every week so we can bring people together. And, this is so powerful. Kortney, is there anything that you want to leave anyone with before we go? Because I'm going to also make sure they know your website, Coastal Capital. Look into more of what Kortney's doing. Follow her. She's doing some epic things. Her team is awesome. And they're really in full support of you, your growth as an entrepreneur.
The only last thing I could tell anyone and is don't let no define you. It's
Mm,
a word that defines a lot of people. If you're an entrepreneur and you believe in yourself, keep going for it. It pays off. Don't worry about where the credit is or anything else in the world right now. Just keep going for it. And collaboration is the new currency. And utilize the people that you know because they're the most powerful links to your success. that you'll have. And you'll find that if you use your voice. And those are the biggest tips. Outside of that, get educated on financial literacy for your business. It's important.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. Thank you, Kortney, for all you do, what you stand for. And I want to remind everyone too, this is the time for you to step inside and go, where's my fucking power? And bring it out. Like, take it, right? Bring out your power. We can either live in the gap or we can live in the gain, and we can say, okay, where am I now? What is my value? I have been crushing it, or I have been either in an odd position in my life, but now go back and find that spark. Right? Find that spark where there's people here to support you. And, this is why I'm not only so passionate about what I do in my PR and branding firm, helping people expand their brand, but most importantly, part of my passion project is this book series. Kortney's part of the book. We launched the Wealth book. So you haven't gotten it, please get access to it now. You can go to WGW Book. You can find it all over the world in different bookstores, Barnes & Noble. It's inside the bookstores. They don't have it to order it. And women are telling their story, and get it for Christmas gifts. Order for Christmas gifts. The Wealth book in the series is out. Intuition is launching next June. We're actually having an event in Sedona, a retreat. We're doing a book signing in Arizona. We'll do a book signing in New York City, probably a book signing in LA. We want you to be part of this world. Come and join us, be part of this world. And don't forget to, if you're going to create a brand, create a sexy brand. If you're going to be anything, be unstoppable and stay wild. We'd love to have you guys be an author in our upcoming book. Leadership is launching in 2025. We now are accepting applications. I'm doing this one a little bit differently. I'm bringing on women that also have daughters. And I want to have women of the new leadership bringing up the next generation, having your daughter write a chapter with you. How beautiful is that? I've been able to do this with my daughter, Hanalei. We've got other women that are going to be in the leadership book that are bringing their daughters alongside. It's a beautiful process, and we'd love to have you part of it. So we'll see you guys next week. We had another unbelievable guest. Don't forget to be here live. And if you're watching this recording, please let us know what you think and say it inside of the comments. Reach out to Kortney and let us know how you go. All right, guys, we'll see you next week. And we'll leave you with this one. What if your story was told to women all over the world? What if you were a best-selling author in the next book series, Women Gone Wild? Well, you have an opportunity to be part of this movement to inspire more women with your story. We are in the Wild series. Wealth book just launched. Next year in 2023, Intuition, and then following is Leadership and Diversity. It's time for us women to come together, to support each other, and to share our wild stories. I look forward to learning more about you and hearing your wild stories so that women of the world can be connected.